today. We are looking at a few different areas of the speaking test. We're going to look at discussing activities that you like and dislike in part one. This is a very common set of questions in part one of the speaking test. We'll also look at a language point using ing and ed adjectives to describe activities. This is a very common area where students make mistakes. So we're going to take a look at them to make sure you're using them accurately. We're going to look at a couple of common questions on part one for leisure activities and look at structure, a way that you can answer this type of question. We're also going to look at part two, describing a book or a movie and an approach that you can use to give a full answer for this question type. Very common in part two. Describe a book or a film or a TV show that you've seen. How can you talk about that for 2 minutes? We're going to look at an approach to help you do that. We are also, if we have time, looking at some useful language to give opinions in part three. This is a very common question type in part three of the test. We'll look at some language that you can use to express your opinion. So that's the plan for the session. Let's dive right in for speaking part one. So in part one, you'll be asked to give a short introduction. The examiner will ask you some questions, what's your name, where are you from, and then you'll jump straight into 3 sets of questions on a personal topic. The first set is always about your hometown or your job, your studies. It's one of those 3 general topics. The next 2 topics will be familiar topics to you. So these are common everyday topics, and this will last for 5 minutes. Amir, we're not going to have the chance to practice speaking yourself in this webinar because we have more than 100, almost 200 students here. There's just not enough time for each person to speak, unfortunately. But hopefully you can practice with listening and you'll get some good language as well. So it will still be useful for you. So in part one, you are very likely to be asked about hobbies and leisure activities that you enjoy. So here are some common topics. What type of activities can you see here? Welcome in, Ujwal. Yep. Yep, you might be asked about your family, to talk about sports, your leisure time, exactly, your hobbies. What kind of questions might you be asked connected to these? So the examiner will ask you specific, maybe 3 to 5 questions on one of these topics. Very good. Ying, why do you like reading? What kind of books do you like to read? Exactly. They'll say, okay, let's talk about reading. Very good. What do you do in your free time? What do you like to do in your free time? What kind of sports do you play? These are very, very common topics. Exactly. So we're going to look at the very common question, what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy reading? So if, what are they doing in this picture? What activity would you say they're doing? Very good. Taking photos. So it could be taking photography. Excellent, Rachel. So the examiner might say, do you enjoy photography? And very good, playing player unknown battlegrounds, which were all very good. So yeah, you probably want to say playing video games because the examiner might not know what that abbreviation is. Yeah, very good. Making memories, good. So the best thing, some good advice in part one is to always give a reason. the examiner has a set of questions and they can only read the questions. They can't change them. They can't really ask any additional questions. So if the only thing they're allowed to do is ask why, exactly, Harpreet, that's the only question in part one they're allowed to add to their list of questions. So if you say, you know, if they ask you, do you enjoy photography? And you say, yes, they have to ask why. So you can save them the trouble. It's much easier to say, yes, because this will develop your answer. Exactly. Absolutely, because very good, Neo. Always give the reason, okay? We will, Shruti, we'll look at some sample answers in a moment. So what about this? Do you enjoy reading? If the examiner asks you this, what could you say? Okay, so no, Ali. Shubham, yes. The missing word there, why? Why do you enjoy reading, or why don't you enjoy? Good. So good, it's relax, Radoslava. Good, so you'd say it's not, it's relaxing. It's a good way to chill. It reduces my stress levels. Very good, because it's interesting. Fantastic, these are good answers. What about, what's this activity? We could say watching TV. Do you enjoy watching TV? Yeah, it's good for my mental health. Excellent. Blow off some steam. Very nice. Yep. Very good, Muskan. So this answers a question. If you say no, that's fine as well, right? You could say no because I think it's a waste of time. I prefer to spend my time doing other activities like reading or spending time with my family. Okay. So it's fine whether you say yes or no, but you should give a reason. And it's absolutely fine to change the subject. You know, do you like watching television? No, actually, I don't really like watching TV because I think it's a waste of time. I prefer doing something more productive, more educational, like reading. That would be a perfectly fine part one answer. Okay. What about this final one, a more active activity like playing football? Do you enjoy playing football? Good. It's a waste of time, Navdeep. Very good. Yeah. Yes, says Ali. Yeah, I think so. So why? I enjoy because it's healthy. Good. No, because I don't like competition. Excellent. Helps me channel my physical energy. Fantastic. So it keeps me mentally, psychologically, and emotionally fit. Very good. Very good answer there. Yeah. So if you can try to give like one or two reasons, and we'll look at a way to develop your answer in a moment. Okay. Before we do this, let's look at some useful language for expressing your likes or dislikes. You know, you can say, yes, I enjoy it. Yes, I like it. If you want to get a higher band score, you know, we're talking a band 7 or a band 8, it's important to use slightly more advanced language and more variety of language. So to do that, you can use some of these expressions. So can you tell me, do these mean like or dislike? Ashish, if they ask you about football, you know, you could say, no, I don't really like football because, you know, we don't really play much football in my country. Actually, I prefer basketball. All my friends play basketball. And you could start talking about that. As long as you give a reason for, you answer the question you're asked and then change the topic, that's okay. All right. So Karankota, let's take a look at some of this language, right? Can you tell me, does it mean like or dislike? I'm quite keen on reading. Yep, Sky and Max, that is like, exactly. If I say, I don't see the point of playing football. Yep, dislike, exactly, Vineeth, very good. I can't stand going to the gym. I just can't stand it. Yeah, strong dislike, exactly. If I say, I find watching TV really relaxing, obviously that is a like, yeah. And if I say, I'm not a big fan of action movies, I'm not a big fan, yeah, of course, that is dislike. Okay. I like to unwind by spending time with my family. Very good, Ninyaka. That is like, yep, Joshua, correct. And notice the ing there after by. So some of these will have ing based on the grammar. I'm really into this series on Netflix at the moment. I'm really into something. This is a like, very good. Okay. And going shopping for clothes just seems like a waste of time to me. Good. Dislike, exactly. So these are just some more expressions that you can use to vary your answer. So if you recognize the examiner is asking you, what do you enjoy doing? Or do you enjoy this? Do you like this? Instead of repeating the language in the question, instead of repeating, yes, I like this, or I really enjoy this, that's okay. You won't lose marks because it's correct, but you might not be getting that higher level band 7 or 8 for vocabulary. This is your chance, an easy way to introduce some more complex language, okay? So it could be useful to learn a few of these expressions and practice them when you're responding to like, dislike questions. Okay, so let's take a look now at what can you tell us? For example, what do you do to relax? What do you like to do to relax? Can you use one of these expressions? Yeah. So can you say, to relax, I'm really into running at the moment. Yeah. Good, Mustafa. Watching Netflix. So you can say, I'm really into Netflix. Oh, very good, Karen Kota. I find taking a dip in the pool, yep, very relaxing. I like to unwind by making friends on Facebook. Good. I like to unwind by soaking myself in the bath. Excellent. I'm quite keen on singing. I'm really into watching YouTube videos. I'm quite addicted to Netflix. Nice one. See, so all of these are more creative, more interesting ways of expressing like, or PewDiePie. Very good. A fellow streamer. Good stuff, guys. Right, let's move on, okay, to some different adjectives for describing activities. So first of all, what's this activity? What can you see? It is a type of sport, an extreme sport. Yep, it's risky. Yeah, mountain biking, exactly, Nyanyaka. What about this activity? A DJ, yep, maybe clubbing, a party, yeah, at the club, exactly. What about this one? Ali, I think you probably recognize this. Yep, yep, Radoslava, it's stressful. Very good. Yeah, it could be a music festival, exactly. And yeah, obviously he's disappointed, Max, exactly. Finally, what about this activity here? This is this one, relaxing, chilling, reading in the hammock. Very good, Ishmael. This kind of bed, we call it a hammock. Right. So how would you describe them? Which one would you describe as exhilarating? Exhilarating. It's an adjective. Very exciting. Yep. Yep. Some of you saying A, the mountain bike. Some of you saying B, in the club. I think both would be fine. What about relaxing? Which one would you describe as relaxing? Yep. It's gotta be D. Stressful. Which one is stressful? Yeah, yeah. The guy in C looks pretty stressed, and possibly A as well if you don't like heights. And yeah, for some people, B as well could be stressful. If you don't like loud music and big crowds, then it could be stressful. Good. Pointless, as in there's just no point to do it. Maybe A, yeah, could be dangerous. Maybe the club as well for some people. And if you don't like football, could be C as well. What about worthwhile? Which one is worthwhile? Worthwhile, yeah. Maybe A, if you enjoy danger. D could be worthwhile if you're reading something interesting. Very good. Boring. Again, this will depend on your preference, which one you find boring. Lying in the hammock, maybe going to the football game, good. Exhausting. What would you find exhausting? Lying in the hammock, exhausting. I think probably maybe B. Yeah, maybe at the club if it's very late, you might start to get exhausted. Good. And rewarding. Which activity could be rewarding if you get some achievement? Yeah, good, Mustafa. Maybe A. D could be rewarding. Very good. Rewarding, Ismail, kind of means you feel you achieve something when you did it. So you feel rewarding, like studying is difficult, but it's rewarding because I feel like I've made an achievement. Okay, right. So this is a common mistake that students make, is choosing the wrong form of the word. Exactly, Shruti, a sense of satisfaction. So I find going to the cinema really relaxing or really relaxed. Which one? Very good. Most of you saying ing, exactly. And that's correct. It's, I find it relaxing. What about this one? I read a really fascinating or fascinated book the other day. Yep, boy, you're thinking ing. Yeah, Prak, fascinating. You are absolutely right. I read a really fascinating book. The book was fascinating. Good. What about this one? Watching my team play is always an exhilarating or exhilarated experience. Is this, some of you are saying ed, most of you are saying ing. It's also ing, exactly. That it was an exhilarating experience, ing. And finally, I'm not sure if I can see this, but something shopping, it's boring. I don't like going shopping. It's boring. It's bored. Good. Boring. Exactly, Joseph. That's right, Max and Yaneka. Boring. So the rule here, what would you say is the rule for using the ing form? We use it to describe a thing, right? The cinema is relaxing. The experience is relaxing. Yeah, exactly. Maria and Sky and boy, ing is for the object, the thing. The ed is for the feeling, right? I feel. Okay. So yeah, the feeling of the person. Exactly. So for example, we can say going for walks in the country makes me feel relaxed. Okay. I feel relaxed. Can you try to change any of these sentences to, so you could say, you know, going for a walk makes me feel relaxed. Mark is boring. Yeah, that's for the object, for him. I feel relaxed going to the cinema. Very good, Nyeka, exactly. Or Sky, going to the cinema makes me feel relaxed. Joshua, I was fascinated by a book I read. My feeling, I was fascinated. Very good. Exactly. So when you when you're speaking, it's good to pay attention to the form of the adjective you're using. Okay, a very common mistake that students make. Right. We're now going to put all of this together into an example answer for part one. Exactly, Ali. I feel bored when I'm reading a book. That's your fear. I am exhilarated by watching my team play. Very good, Julius. Exactly. So we've got a common question here. The examiner might say, let's talk about your hobbies. And a typical question, what do you like to do to relax? And the student might say, let's see, I like running. Okay. Obviously, this is too short, right? We need to develop it. So how can we develop this answer in part one? Now, we mentioned before, we can give, well, first of all, we need to answer the question directly. Okay, so I like running is good because you're directly answering the question. But it's not enough. We need to give a reason as well. So we can say, well, I'd say that my favorite, and here I'm going to say pastime instead of hobby. My favorite pastime is running. Why? I'll give a reason. I find it really, what's the missing word here? Yeah, good. Yeah, relaxing, very good. It's the ing form. Excellent. Now we can give an example, okay, to develop this a bit more. And some of you have given good examples as it gives me time in nature, as a kid and more as an adult. Here I've said in a typical week, I'll go out for a run 3 or 4 times. Okay, that's my specific example. I can also give an alternative, right? On the other hand, if the weather's really bad, I'll go and something in my local gym instead. What kind of verb would you put with local gym? What do people do in the gym? Very good, Maria. Workout, exactly. This is a nice expression. Workout in my local gym. Okay, so I'm giving another option here. Finally, I can summarize to show that I'm bringing my answer to a close. And I can say, so yeah, I'm quite a sporty person. So that's what I'll usually do in my free time. Okay. This is just a nice way to bring your answer to a close so that the examiner knows that you're finishing your answer and you're not going to add anymore. Sportive person is not English. It sounds more French to me, Shaista. You can say a sporty person or an active person, okay? So for this type of answer, and for all your answers in part in the speaking test, it's good to use things like phrasal verbs, okay? Notice I've not really used any complex language here. But I have used some nice informal language like go out or work out, right? This is very natural English. I've also used some adverbs and vague language. This is a feature of spoken English that makes your speaking sound very natural. So, you know, my favorite pastime is running. It's probably running, okay? I find it really relaxing. Let's see, 3 or 4 times. Yeah, rejuvenating is a good word there, Ujwal. So yeah, I'm quite right? This is all nice, vague language that you can use to make your answers sound very natural and very conversational English, okay? So that is an example answer for this topic. I saw some of you give some very, very good answers as well in the chat. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. Otherwise, I think we can move on to look at some part 2 topics, okay? So let's see. Okay, you've also got the I'll go. This is like my habit. All right, Shirankara, is that for the, how can we start the part 1 or part 2? Let me know. For part 1, you can just say, well, I'd say that and answer the question. For part 2, we're going to look at this in a moment. So we'll skip through these. These are some common follow-up questions you might have. Do you think hobbies should be shared with other people? Did you have a hobby when you were a child? Why do you think people have hobbies? These are all kind of common questions. So you can think about your answers for these, how you could answer them using the same structure. Okay, so for part 2, let's take a look. 2 very common topics that you'll be given are things like describe a book you read when you were a child, okay? Or describe a film that you've seen recently. You might have, you know, describe a book that you read recently, describe a film you enjoyed when you were a child, describe a book that you studied at school. These are very common topics, okay? So before the test, it's worth thinking about a book, a film, a TV show that you can talk about. And if the question is connected to the topic, you can just talk about that book or that film. So a couple of questions. This is very similar to the topic on the cue card, and you can mention fake names. It doesn't need to be true, okay? And also, if you don't read, Roshana, you will just need to make up your answer, okay? You can say, well, actually, I don't read very much, but a book that I did read when I was a child was this. Think of a story. Max, if the examiner has read the book before, it doesn't matter. Even if you're lying, it's not important, okay? And we'll look at how to answer this, even if you don't know the author, you don't know the director, okay? And we'll look at how to start this in a moment. So what I've seen as both a teacher and an examiner is that many students when they get this kind of question, they are asked to describe a film or a book, and they jump right in to talking about the film. Well, there are two people and they go to here and they describe the story, but it's very difficult to describe a story for 2 minutes, okay? So we're going to look at a way you can develop your answer so that you can speak for longer, not just talking about the story. First, it's good to say a bit about the genre of the book. What type of book is it? Okay. So very good, Rachel. It's a book by Jeffrey Archer called Cain and Abel. I know the book. Very good. What type of book is it? So let's see. What type of film is this, first of all? Good. Kapil, please don't share your contacts in the chat. Just, we can't be responsible for your well-being, so it's better not to share. You guys can speak to each other on our Facebook group. I'll put the link to that in the chat in a moment, okay? So it's an action film. Very good, Wolverine. Yeah, so it's a type of action film. What about this one? What type of film is this? Very good. It's a romance, drama, could also be a tragedy as well, right? Very good. What about this guy, Mr. Bean? You're probably familiar, of course. It would be a comedy film. Okay, so I'd like to talk about a comedy film. And finally, I don't know if you can take a guess what type of film this is. Looks a bit scary. It could be a thriller. It could maybe be a horror. Very good, user. So this is a type of film. So it's good when you're introducing the film to say the genre. So can you say, what's your favorite genre of film? Which one do you like? It can be one of these, or it can be another type of film. A very good, Adnan. Science fiction. Yep. If you like comedy, you can say you like comedy. Historical, good. A historical drama, horror, action comedy, courtroom drama, very good. Ikanki. National Geographic, Nyanyeka, that would be a documentary, a nature documentary. Genre, Shruti. Genre, it's like a French word. So genre. You can say my favorite type of film or my favorite genre. Excellent. So you guys know some different types of film. I want you to think of one film that you can describe in this next activity. So if you were asked, talk about a film that you've seen recently, you can choose any film. You know, it could be from when you were a child, it could be from you saw it last night. It doesn't matter. Just pick a film and get ready to describe it. Good choice, Max. Yeah, very good, Fong. Some great movies here. Okay, so let's see. How can you describe the film? How can you start? Here is a structure that you can use, right? Students often see the prompt card and they focus only on the information in the prompt. You don't need to stick to the prompt card. You can expand your answer to talk about other things as well. So some of the things you can talk about, and this is a logical structure you can use. You can introduce the book or the film. You can say a bit about its name, who wrote it or the director, or if you don't know, you can say, I don't know. You can introduce the genre, and you can say, why did you choose to talk about this one? Okay. You can go a bit out of the topic, Sashi, and you'll see this. You can then give some background to before you saw the movie or the book, when did you read it? What were you doing? Where did you go to see it? Where did you buy the book? Who gave it to you? Why did you choose it? Okay, so this is, you're not even talking about the film or the book. You're talking about you and your life situation. Okay, much easier to talk about yourself than talk about the book, right? Then you can say a bit about the main characters, right? Who are they and what do they want? Very simple. Then, and this is the part that most students do, but they only do this part, is you talk about the plot. You say what happens in the story and focus on the beginning, the middle, and the end. You don't need to go too crazy talking about everything that happens because it can get very confusing for the examiner. It's much easier just to say in the beginning, then in the middle, at the end, this is what happens, okay? Finally, give your opinion. Did you enjoy it? Why did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it to others? Okay, so this is hopefully useful for you, a structure you can use to plan your part 2 talk. So let's take a look at an example. This is a movie that I saw recently, okay? And yeah, don't worry if you'll be able to watch the recording of the webinar again. So if you miss anything, we'll put the link on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, and you can catch it again. Okay, so you can check the language that we use when you watch the recording. So here's an example. Sorry guys, my screen has frozen there. I'm just waiting for it to come back. There we go. So here is a film that I saw recently. I'm going to introduce it to you, okay? So you can see how an example answer. So I would say, sorry guys, I'm just fixing my chat window there. There we go. Okay. Okay, so today I'd like to talk about a movie I've seen recently. The name of the movie is Leave No Trace. I'm not entirely sure who the director is, but I think they're American. The movie is a type of family drama set in the Pacific Northwest of the USA. And I chose to talk about this film because I really enjoyed it and it left a big impression on me. All right, so there I've introduced the book or the film, and this maybe takes 20 seconds of your time, and you've just introduced it. You've given a full introduction. So would you like to try and introduce the movie that you chose? Maybe just pick 1 or 2 sentences and introduce your movie. What's the name of the movie? What type of movie is it? You can try and put your answer in the chat there. Let us know what you think. So I saw some of you mention the, mentioned Avengers Endgame. I'm hoping you guys can see me because I think that the chat has frozen at this end. So I'm hoping you can still hear me. I can't see your answers just now. So I'm going to continue and hopefully the chat will start working in a moment. All right. Okay, good, good, excellent. I can see your chat again. Fatraprapa, set in means located, the place where the movie is. So it's set in the USA, or it's set in a city called this. Very good. Yeah, excellent, boy. Stranger Things, very, very good. Lawrence, I would I would like to talk about the film, okay? I would love to. Good. Okay, once you've introduced the film, you can then give some background. You can say, I watched this movie at home with my partner. It was a Friday night and we were both tired from work. So we decided just to have a quiet one and catch a movie together. Okay. Excellent, Suzanne. I chose this one because it had a 5-star review. So we thought we'd check it out. And we ended up streaming it on Netflix. Okay. So again, in this situation, I'm introducing some background. Where did I see the movie? Who did I see it with? Why did I choose it? How did I watch it? Where did I go to see it? If you went to the cinema, okay? All of this gives you some more information, right? And yes, you can lie if you like, Kanan. You don't need to tell the truth, okay? So, very good, Noni. Moving on, you can see that it's quite nice to have a quiet one, to catch a movie. These are idiomatic phrasal verbs as well. To say we check it out, we ended up. This is again the type of band 7, band 8 language you can use, okay? To have a quiet one, it's like to have a relaxing evening. Okay, so we've introduced the background. We can then we can introduce the main characters and what they want. So there are 2 main characters in the movie, a father and his daughter. The father is an army veteran and has some emotional problems. He wants to hide from society. His daughter is about 13 years old. She loves her father, but also wants to live a normal life. Okay, so just say who they are and what do they want. That's a very clear way to introduce the characters. Right. Very good, Mufasa, Simba, and Scar. Excellent. So there are 2 main characters, X and Y. X is this, they want this. Y is this, they want this. Okay. Next, we can outline the plot. And it's very useful here to say at the beginning of the movie, they are living in a forest outside a big city. They're both happy and life seems perfect. But then the police find them and arrest them because it's against the law to live in the forest. Eventually, the government gives them a new home, but the father can't accept this new life. So they run away together. I won't spoil the ending of the movie for you, but it's very sad. Okay, so you notice at the beginning, but then eventually at the end of the movie. Okay, well, it's sad, Diding. You don't know. It could be a happy ending as well. Okay, probably Iron Man is the main character, but there's also an argument that Thanos is the main character as well. If you look at the Endgame and Infinity War, it's not a conventional type of movie, right? So, but for the purposes of part 2, just choose one. It doesn't matter. Okay, so good. If you want to talk about a series, that would be okay. I saw someone ask that. You could say, actually, I haven't seen a movie recently, so I'd like to talk about a series that I've been watching and talk about that. That would be fine, as long as you give the reason. Like, I haven't watched any movies recently, but I'm really into Game of Thrones, right? That would be okay. It's okay to change the topic slightly like that. All right. So we've outlined the plot. Notice the grammar here. They are living in a forest. We've got the present tense, present continuous and present simple to describe the main events of the story. This is very common when you're narrating a story. To make it more interesting, you use the present tense, okay? Rather than the past tense. Present tense all the way. Good. Finally, very good. Very good, Ram Kumar. Excellent. Yeah, AA is a good technique as well, PPF. There are different ways to structure your part 2. PPF can work very well as well. Okay. Finally, for part 5, we've got your opinion. I really enjoyed this movie because the story was compelling, the visual design was stunning, and the acting was superb. I definitely recommend this film to anyone who likes thought-provoking films with interesting characters. This is a nice way to finish your talk if you still have time. Good questions, guys. PPF, for those of you who are not sure what that means, past, present, and future. This is a common way of structuring your part 2 talk, where you begin by talking about the past. So in this case, you can talk about, before you saw the movie, and then the second P is present. You'll talk about, in the movie, the story of the movie, and then future, after the movie. Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it to other people? So PPF is a general structure you can use for a lot of different topics. It's very useful as well. So yes, I would recommend thinking about using that structure for different IELTS topics. Minthu, I'll put the link to this lesson up on YouTube and also on our Facebook page, so you'll be able to watch it on there. I'll put the link to that in the chat in a moment. Also, Riza, it's okay if you don't complete your story. It's absolutely fine. You could. You don't need to complete the story at all. If you only get to talking about background, you won't lose any marks. This is just, often students have trouble saying enough, finding enough to say. So don't worry if you have too much to say. Okay, Suzanne, 3 books. You could talk about 3 books. The problem is you might end up jumping from topic to topic, and that might sound a bit confusing for the examiner. If you say, first I'm going to talk about this book that I started reading when I was a kid, and then I'm going to talk about a book I'm reading now, and then a book I'm going to read. It's okay, but the examiners just asked you about 1 book. So I would start by describing 1. If you run out of things to say, then you could say, and actually, I enjoyed this book so much that I'm planning to read another book in the future. Okay, that would be okay. So don't worry about changing the topic if you feel like you're running out of things to say. Right, guys, I'm afraid we are running out of time for this presentation. So I would just like to spend a few minutes answering any questions you have about the speaking test or the general IELTS test in general. So we're going to skip through this part. We'll come back to it in another presentation, so don't worry. I would like you to ask me some questions, and I will do my best to answer them in the time that we have left. Okay, so yeah, I can see your question there, Amir. How can I improve my speaking skill? This is a good question. It's very general. So for what would help me is to know your strengths and your weaknesses and the areas that you need, the specific areas that you need to improve, whether that's how you organize your answer, whether that's the grammar that you use or the vocabulary that you use. This will be different for everyone. So one thing that you can do to help you improve your speaking is to get very specific feedback on your performance. And one way to do that is to take part in a speaking or writing evaluation, which is something we offer on our website. I will just put the link to that in the chat just now. So this is a little bit of promotion, okay, for our paid services. Since we do these webinars for free, I thought it would be good for you to see some of the things that we offer as a paid service, okay? I've put the link to that in the chat. I've also put the link to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page where you'll be able to watch the recordings for these webinars. Again, all of our previous webinars are on our YouTube channel. So yes, Tuan, you'll be able to watch that both at our Facebook and our YouTube channel. So let's see. Sorry guys, my screen is kind of freezing, so I'm trying to see some of your questions. There we go. Yeah. Let's see. Thank you, Ka. I'm glad you enjoyed that. And thank you, Natalia. I appreciate that a lot. I'm afraid we don't have much time to look at your questions today, guys. This was a bit of a longer session. I think in the future we'll split this one into two so that we have more time to cover the materials. I'll try to answer some of your questions. So, Alusa, does your accent affect the score? The short answer is no. As long as we can understand you and your accent doesn't make it difficult to understand, then that's fine. There are people, you know, English speakers, native English speakers from all over the world have different accents. So an accent will not reduce your score, okay? Thank you very much, Sky. I'm glad that was helpful. And thank you, Neo. I hope it's been useful for you. Thanks very much. For those of you that are taking your tests soon, best of luck to you. I'm afraid we're not going to have time for many questions today, but if you do have questions, you can put them on our YouTube channel as comments in the videos. We are checking them and answering them. You can also put your questions on our Facebook group as well, and we'll do our best to get back to you on there. So guys, I'm just posting the link to those in the chat so you can find us. Please give us a like and a share with YouTube and Facebook. It does help us to keep offering these webinars for free. So I hope you found the session useful. If you're planning to take your tests, best of luck. We have a number of other webinars coming up in the next few days. We have another one this Thursday. We have 2 more sessions next week. So I hope you can join us for there. If you want to get in touch, you can get in touch via our website, IELTSonlinetest.com. Okay, so thanks very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry Mary wasn't available, but I hope it's been helpful for you anyway. And best of luck with your studies. I'll see you guys again soon. Okay, bye for now. Cool. Cheers, Daniel. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, Ali. Cheers. Okay. Cheers, everyone. Bye for now.